Nah. We need to be in fire mode. I am. What was that? Explain to me. Please explain to me. What was that race? What did we just watch? We did not watch a NASCAR race. That was not a NASCAR race. I don't know what that was, but that was not a NASCAR race. SMI. I'm just saying, for 2023, why don't you just replace Texas with another Charlotte race? Hell, we can even go back to Kentucky if you want. Any other racetrack but Texas. Now, I know that this was probably one of the most entertaining Bristol, Texas races. I also know that this provided some of the best racing we've seen in Texas in quite some time. However, oh my God, tires. It's literally the 2008 Brickyard 400s, deja vu all over again. Same thing just like last weekend. Parts failing, tires failing, and once again, the next gen car. And it being basically just a bunch of crappy ass parts brought together and called it a race car. I don't even know where to begin with this race just because so much shit happened. Like I don't know how to begin this race. I do know that you can break it up into these sections. This is what happened in this race. Number 1, turn 4 of Texas Motor Speedway is now the most dangerous turn in NASCAR today. Not Talladega, not turn 1 in Darlington. It's turn 4 at Texas. Because I swear, how many cautions you had? What, 20 cautions, something like that? And I'm pretty sure all but I think 3 of them happened in turn 4. Whether it was a right rear tire going down or a car just getting loose over the bumps and spinning out. So many crashes happened in turn 4. And let's talk about the tire failures. Again, I'm going to be going a bit all over the place because that's the only way to describe this race. But let's talk about everything that happened. All the crashes that took place in turn 4, either as a result of the bump or the tire. Okay. We start off lap 40, Martin Truex Jr. loses the car off of 4, spins, backs into the wall. 9 laps later, his teammate, Kyle Busch, same corner, crashes back into the wall. He's done for the day. Lap 97, Alex Bowman spins into wall in turn 4 from the 8th position. Lap 137, Christopher Bell gets into the wall in turn 4 after losing a tire. Lap 184, leader Chase Elliott, his tire goes down, slams the turn 4 wall. Lap 242, Chris Buescher loses a right rear tire, smacks it into turn 4 wall. Race leader Kevin Harvick, he loses a tire, guess where? Turns 3 and 4, backs it into the wall. I'm pretty sure those are the ones I was able to get. But yeah, that's a lot. That is a lot. That's not including the other issues that we saw. I mean, Cole Custer, I think he also had a tire go down in turns 1 and 2. He spun and hit the outside wall in turns 1 and 2. Christopher Bell, before that spin I mentioned in stage 1, his tire went down, I think on lap 71, I believe, in stage number 1. His tire went down. I mean, you can only blame, and I understand not all of them were tire related, but I'm pretty sure all but 2 or 3 of the ones I mentioned were tire related. And it seemed as though that the limit was 35 laps. And this is due to numerous factors, especially the longer we get into a run. This didn't happen earlier in the race, where we saw a lot of tire issues. That happened around halfway. So here's the issue. Here's the thing. I know people are going to say, oh, okay, air pressure. All right, air pressure is a reason, or things like that. Like I'm pretty sure one of the representatives for Goodyear blamed it on, air pressure was a reason with the resin or the PJ1, whatever you call it, made the track super fast. Yes, I get all that, but you cannot blame everything on that. You have to take responsibility. You build the tire. Okay. And yes, I understand. Teams, yeah, they're going to push it. They're going to make the air pressure a bit lower than expected. I understand that. But holy crap, last weekend we had the same issue. And here's the issue I have with this. And it's more on NASCAR than on Goodyear. And that is the lack of practice. You only have 20 minutes of practice. There is no way in hell you're able to be race ready based off of 20 minutes of practice. I understand that maybe this year was because of a next gen shortage and you didn't want to risk crashing cars. Fine. But next year you need to have at least an hour of practice. so that teams can get a general understanding, because in 20 minutes of practice, you're just getting into the basics of things. How does a car drive in the first few laps? Things like that. You're not thinking about tires at that moment in time. So by the time you do want to get into a long green flag run, you got about 5 minutes left? That is nothing. You need to give more time to the teams to better prepare for situations like this, and to also prepare for potential parts failures. I know I don't think there was any parts failures in this race, but I'm just saying, in terms of practice, that's what practice is for, to help prepare you for potential situations like what we saw here today. We saw a bunch of drivers just losing tires left and right, as it seemed as though there was a 35 lap limit. It's like 35 laps. All right, one more lap more, you're done. That's what it seemed like every single time. Not all the drivers had these issues. I believe Tyler Reddick, he sat out on tires pretty long. Yeah, I think he had some pretty worn tires and he was able to be cool with it. But I do believe he had a vibration in the last 5 or so laps of the race. You think he mentioned it in an interview. But not everyone had issues, but still, it was such a major deal that even though Texas provided some good racing, it was completely overshadowed by just tire failure after tire failure after tire failure. Again, it was like the 2008 Brickyard 400 all over again. Just bam, 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 bam. You were just dropping like flies. Yes, attrition can be very fun in the race, but when it's in a controlled state of mind, when you're just having tires falling off left and right, it's more of a joke than a race. It's just a circus. That's all that is. I don't think even Talladega would be this chaotic. And that's saying a lot. So we talked about tires. Let's talk about this next gen car. Listen, I don't want to bring up, it's been 22 years since we last saw a driver get killed. I'm very nervous with this next gen car. And we got Talladega next weekend, which this is the first time I'm genuinely scared for Talladega, because I do not trust this next gen car in terms of safety, at least for this year, because we're seeing drivers that barely hit the walls complaining about, or I shouldn't say complaining, but saying it hurts. Like when Martin Truex Jr., when he backed it into wall, he got on the radio said that effing hurts, which it's a crash that seemed like nothing. Kevin Harvick whipped around and smacked the outside wall a ton. I hope he doesn't have any issues with his head. But the reason I bring this up is because of what took place on lap 168. Cody Ware in the 51 car, by himself, the car gets loose to the left and then whips back up to the right and just crushes the outside wall head on. He then comes in full speed, it seemed like he didn't even try to stop, and then smacks the inside pit lane wall, just barely missing the point where the wall comes at a point like this. He barely missed that. Could have been like another Mark Martin type of situation. But yeah, he got out of the car, but then fell to the ground, came back up, and then fell to the ground once again, and they were just holding him down, or, something was going on with him. But they brought the ambulance out. They brought the stretcher out. He had to be carried away in an ambulance to the infield care center. Now, the good news is that according to Rick Ware Racing, Cody Ware has no broken bones, no concussions, nothing. Just, I believe it was ankle discomfort. I think it was ankle discomfort. I don't know if it was the left or the right one, but that's all that was mentioned, I believe, in the press release. But thankfully, that's only the case. But my goodness, I understand. Again, I know the next gen car is a work in progress. I get that. But I mean, come on. The writing's on the wall. This car ain't safe, or at the very least, not as safe as previous generations of cars in their first couple seasons. I know people bring up, like for example, in 2014 at Michigan, Ryan Truex had a similar crash and also, slammed to the outside wall and had a concussion. Fair point. I would argue in this situation, Cody had to be taken away in an ambulance while Truex got out on his own feet. Same thing with Kurt Busch. When he had his concussion, he got out on his 2 feet. But anyways, we're seeing smaller crashes. And I'm not saying Cody's crash was was a small incident by any means. It was a massive hit. But still, we're seeing a lot of drivers taking relatively small, easy hits and having such a massive impact to their bodies. You're now going to go to a track like Talladega where you have the playoffs on the line, which is just going to amp up the energy times 10. And we know how much of a wreckfest Talladega can be in the playoffs. I'm genuinely worried about this race, and I just hope and pray that everyone can come home safely, because again, I do not trust this next gen car, not one bit. Now let's talk about William Byron and Denny Hamlin. I know that's something that y'all wanted to talk about. So this took place late in the race, which I believe it was under 70 to go. Martin Truex Jr., who was leading, I forgot to mention him. Entering turns 3 and 4, right front tire down, or right front, right rear tire was down. He smacks the wall, crashes, and is out. Yeah, that is pretty incredible that Truex, after his first crash, he was able to rebound and actually be a race-winning car. But unfortunately, that incident happened. But it was during this where we saw William Byron and Denny Hamlin get into it. After that crash happened, under caution, William Byron just bulldozes Denny Hamlin and sends him into the grass. The reason why he did that was because moments ago, Denny Hamlin gets loose, or I should say get loose. He gets tight, has it back out of the gas with around 72, 73 to go, pushes William Byron up the track. Byron gets into the wall. Obviously, Byron was upset at that. You knew Byron was going to do something about it, and he did. I wasn't expecting him to do that, but he did do that. Now, the interesting thing about this is that Denny was furious about this, and rightfully so, because he got spun by William Byron. Well, according to the NASCAR rules, if you don't maintain pace car speed, you lose your position. And that's what happened with Denny. He went from, I think, 3rd or 4th place to 14th or 15th, which, because he got taken out by Byron under caution. Byron should have been penalized for that. He should have been penalized for that. And when it's under caution, you don't do anything. You just don't do that. I completely understand Byron's frustration. And in fact, had he done that under green flag conditions, I wouldn't have an issue with it. But the fact that he did it under caution, again, I don't blame him for what he did, but he should have been penalized for that. And the fact that he wasn't is a huge L on NASCAR's officiating. But anyways, Denny was upset and tried to wreck Byron back. He wasn't able to do that. And the entire time we were waiting for Hamlin to get back at Byron's bumper, because he said that, you know, Byron didn't get a penalty. And I believe Hamlin said something along the lines of, don't worry, I'll make sure he gets his penalty. So you knew Byron was going to have something thrown his way from Hamlin. Now, credit to Byron. He was able to hold his ground, able to stay ahead of Hamlin after the race was finished. Hamlin had also other issues, got loose numerous times, fell back. But this is what both Byron and Hamlin each said about the incident.
He ran me out of room and bent the toe link, and we're lucky we finished. So, yeah, I mean, it was really hard contact. It wasn't like just a light. It wasn't like, you know, just a light contact or anything like that. So, yeah, I didn't mean to, obviously spin him out over there, but I'm obviously, pissed off and just not going to get run like that. We've always run so well, or raced so well together, so I don't know what it was all about. I mean, the 19 took his air away, and he ran out of racetrack, so he chose to run me out of racetrack completely. And again, look, it's not like it was just light contact. Like, I mean, I thought we were going to be done. So
I guess we can just wreck each other under caution. I tried to wreck him back, but yeah, it's just I don't think we touched. I got to look, but I don't think we touched. But obviously, he sent us through the infield under caution.
He said he likely needs to talk to you, but you guys haven't had any prior incidents. What's that conversation going to be like?
I mean, I keep hearing these guys, but I'll just add it to the list of guys. When I get a chance, they're going to get it.
So yeah, let's be honest. What were you expecting from Byron? Do you really expected him to be like, oh yeah, I meant to take him out into the grass. I meant to bump him and spin him out. Did you really expect him to say that? No, he's not that stupid. He's not dumb. Like, of course he's going to be like, oh, I didn't mean to. I just meant to hit him, but I didn't mean to take him out. Of course he's going to say something like that. Everyone knew he took him out on purpose. Everyone knew that, but of course he ain't going to say it, because if you do say it, then NASCAR is going to penalize you. So of course he's going to be like, oh, I bumped him, but I didn't mean to wreck him. He also had another retaliation with Ty Gibbs on pit road on Ty Dillon. Ty, you were doing so well these last few weeks. You were doing so well with your maturity level. What the hell is wrong with you? Why would you do that on pit road? There is no reason for that. I swear. Just everything about this race was just a mess from start to finish, from tire failures to officiating to driver etiquette. to just parts failing, next gen cars, and just everything about this race was. And of course, you had a rain/lightning delay for about an hour to just add into the never-ending race at Texas. This race was, I think, 4.5 hours long. It was just, I can't even tell you. I mean, Tyler Reddick won, which credit to him. He was up front early in the race, then had some type of issue. I think he had a vibration. He had to come onto pit road, and we didn't see him for majority of the race until after the rain delay. Then you saw a bunch of different drivers just come in, change tires, and that's the thing what we saw in this race. I believe this race had the most amount of lead changes in history with 36, because you had so many drivers pitting because they were worried about tires. Tires didn't wear in the sense of you saw drivers that would stay out on older tires and be able to keep up with the pack. So you saw a lot of and the fact that there was a lot of cautions, you saw a lot of drivers either pitting, not pitting, pitting, not pitting. So you saw so many lead changes, even though not many of them happened on the racetrack. Majority of them happened, in transition with pit stops, or changing tires and things like that. So you saw so many different leaders up front. You saw Stenhouse. I mentioned Reddick. You saw Harrison Burton, Todd Gilliland. You saw so many drivers up towards the front, but by the final restart, it was Tyler Reddick, Daniel Suarez, Ryan Blaney, those drivers up front. And Reddick was able to just get ahead. He got ahead of Joe Logano, who finished in second place, I believe. And was able to hold on, win hit for the third time in his Cup Series career, his third win this season, and continues a streak. So far, a driver that is contending for the championship has not won a race in the playoffs. Darlington was Eric Jones, Kansas was Bubba, last weekend was Chris Buescher, and Tyler Reddick, even though he was in the playoffs, he was knocked out, so that streak continues. 4 races in, not a single driver that's contending for the championship has won a race in the playoffs. So let's take a look at the results. The results are just absolutely madness. I mean, Reddick wins, Logano second. Look who's in third. Justin Haley. How is Haley third, Blaney fourth, Briscoe in fifth place, even though he was outside the top 30 for a good portion of the race? He had a horrible car, somehow finished in fifth. Jones sixth, Byron seventh, Keselowski in eighth, Larson ninth, and Hamlin rounds out the top 10. Yeah, Michael McDowell finished 11th after he lost fourth gear, still managed to come home in 11th place. Suarez and Chastain 12th and 13th. How about Corey LaJoie in 14th place for him? Cindric was involved in a crash late in the race, rebounds for 15th. The Dillon brothers 16th, 17th. Burton 18th, Harvick rebounds for 19th, Ty Gibbs in 20th, Noah Gragson 21st, Castle 22nd, Smithley 23rd, Eric Almirola in 24th. He also spun late in the race. Bubba Wallace lost power steering 25th, BJ McLeod 26th, Stenhouse, who was involved in that crash with Cindric 27th, Gilliland 28th, Bowman, who cut that tire down and went into the wall 29th. Chris Buescher also had a tire down, like I mentioned, crashed 30th. Truex 31st. Elliott 32nd after he caught on fire, finishes 32nd place. Cody Ware finishes 33rd. Christopher Bell, Cole Custer, and Kyle Busch rounds out this 36-car field. As for the playoffs, this is what they look like. After Texas, Joey Logano now has a 30-point lead ahead of the cut line. Chastain plus 18, Byron plus 17, Larson and Blaney plus 16 and plus 15 respectively. Then Denny Hamlin plus 8, Suarez and Elliott. Elliott went from first plus 31 to 8th plus 4. After Texas, Briscoe stays in 9th place, minus 4. Cindric jumps up to 10th place, minus 11. Christopher Bell falls to 11th place, minus 29. And Alex Bowman falls to 12th place, minus 30. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to give a rating for this race because, again, the racing itself was pretty good for Texas standards. I was quite surprised, but just everything around it, just... I'm not happy. I'm embarrassed. This was an embarrassment. Everything, like I said, from officiating to Goodyear to the next gen car, like the safety aspect to I hate Texas so much. I hate it with the burning passion. I'm dead serious, SMI. You can bring back Kentucky. I don't care what you do, okay? We can even race at the dirt track at Texas if you want. Just please, I don't want to go back to this monstrosity of a racetrack. It's actually an embarrassment to call it a racetrack. I don't. I'm sweating my ass off. I'm just ranting so much, but I just don't understand how with the tire, with these tires. You've been shown time after time after time after time again that these tires are an issue, and with Goodyear, I hear so many times from them, oh, it's air pressure. Oh, the teams that aren't doing. It's like, you can't always blame it on air pressure every time. There's literally a 35 lap limit in the race that if you go one lap over, bam, you're done. It's like at some point in time, you have to direct blame to Goodyear and not blame everything on the teams. Again, I'm saying this, next year, bring back full practice, an hour or 2 hours of practice. I don't care. Either 2 1-hour practice session or 1 2-hour practice session. I don't care what you do, but bring back full practice so that teams can actually prepare for things like this so they do not make themselves look like idiots when it comes to race time on Sunday. Because this is a prime example of non-preparation. From the track itself with the resin, I mean, you saw so many drivers in turns 1 and 2. That's the thing. 3 and 4, bump, spinning. You spin in 3 and 4, you lose the car in 1 and 2, because in 1 and 2, I think it was Noah Gragson, Brad Keselowski, Joe Logano, I don't know. I could name, there's like 9-10 instances of drivers just losing their car and nearly crashing in turn 1. And in turns 3 and 4, like I mentioned, that's where you crash. Turns 1 where you lose the car, turns 3 and 4 is where you crash the car. That's how it seemed with Texas. It's just, Texas is more dangerous than Talladega. I never thought I'd say that, but I don't know. Rate this race from a scale of 1 to 10. I don't know. I don't know, but it's donkey poo. I don't know. What rating would you give that? Donkey poo. Absolute embarrassment. Congrats to Reddick. I mean, fair play to him. I'm happy he won, but I was more relieved of this race being done rather than happy. You know what I mean? Like, generally, if it's a good race or provides good racing, yeah, you'd be somewhat happy. Like, all right, yeah, I'm satisfied with this race. I was just begging, like, I don't care who wins this race. Just end my suffering. Please. Not just my suffering and the fans' suffering that were not only watching the race, but the fans at the racetrack. God bless their souls. The fact that they went nearly 5 hours of suffering for this. Y'all deserve, y'all should get free tickets for next year, because that's the only way people are going to show up to next year's race is if you get free tickets or give out free tickets. But yeah, oh God, Talladega's next week, and hopefully no one gets seriously hurt there. Congrats to Reddick. I'm done. I'm out. I'm gonna take a nap. Good night. I hate Texas so much.